Love the intro. Sorry, I can't. Hello, everybody out there. Thank you for tuning in to another Small Sports Podcast. This week, as always, we are going to reflect on all the games from Week 3. We're going to tell you about all the stories we love to see coming up for Week 4. Anything to do with fantasy for starts, sits, sleepers, and we're going to give you all the bets, all the tips. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to all of our content. You can find our video on YouTube, and we'll be doing more small gaming, all of the Hollow Hunters pulls, and of course, more podcasts. You can also find us on audio for Spotify, Apple, and Podbean. Boys, Week 3 is done. Week 4 is upon us. We're going to be coming up on bye weeks here soon. What do you guys think? What's big this week?
Well, normally we'd say that we're going into, we're a quarter of the way done through the year, but no, now we add an extra week in.
Crazy.
So, Week 3 was pretty dramatic, a lot of injuries.
Yeah.
A lot of heroic kicking situations.
You shut up.
Nail biters, you might say.
Yeah, a lot of underdog stories, I think. But we got some stuff to talk about, so why don't we just jump into the question of the day, Luke?
Question of the day, question of the week, I suppose.
Sure.
Find us on social media. Please throw out your comments. The last week we did hear, I think Henry was the winner for
Derrick
last
Henry
week's.
or Aaron Jones going forward. Derrick Henry definitely won the voting there.
Yeah. So this week, again, some drama that has been stirred up. We want to know, with Josh Gordon being reinstated to the Chiefs practice squad, are you spending your fab money on him? Are you putting a priority waiver in? What are the thoughts, boys?
Oh, I can tell you my thoughts. I've been having some conversations about this in many different fantasy leagues. Personally, I think that if you are just in like a keeper league, you're going to redraft, do that, by all means. He could come in and do something this year. With his track record, unfortunately, if you have a dynasty league or anything like that, I wouldn't go wasting money on somebody who potentially may not make it till the end of the year with his current track record. And the only reason I say this is because he's bitten many people in the butt before, where he came back with the Seahawks and was like, oh, he's gonna do better. It seems like he's clicking well with the team, and then same thing happens again. He gets kicked out. So if you got just a keeper league and you're gonna redraft anyways next year, why not? If you can get him in there for decent cheap. I wouldn't overspend, but
yeah, I wouldn't drop more than like 10% on him. I would think.
Yeah,
it's hard. Like in the past, I would say once, maybe twice, I did spend like a couple fab dollars on him. Just like, who knows? Never won him because I never ponied up the right amount to get him. But it never panned out anyway, so I'm kind of glad, right? But this is like the one time, like my heart and soul is kind of like, oh no, he could do it.
Yeah,
he could finally come back.
That's
Andy Reid's really kind of the guy that if you get in, it doesn't care where you come from, what you do, he can turn your world around. If you perform, you're gonna get snaps. So part of me thinks you should, but I'm not gonna get broken up with again.
I know. Like I actually had him up until I think the beginning of this year. I had him in one of our dynasty leagues, and I was thinking through it. I was like, okay, I'm gonna pick somebody else off waivers. I was like, yeah, Josh Gordon. I'm just gonna get rid of him. Got to move him. Got to move on. And now, like I was thinking to myself, I'm gonna move on. But now it's like the Chiefs. Oh, could he do it? Oh, I don't know.
He wouldn't. He wouldn't be playing until next week they have Philadelphia, but he wouldn't be playing until Buffalo. Mm-hmm. So,
like you've got, again, he's going to get picked up in every league. I would think that I'd probably drop. If you're looking at 100 fab or 200 fab, like you said, maybe 10. I'd probably go 15%, probably.
Then you'll get Josh Gordon over me.
Just to win, and just for the shot. I don't know. It's hard not to. I've seen so many comments and stuff and all the social media that we've been reading, and I honestly think there's a lot of people who believe the same as I do. He's just such a crazy athlete. He might be 30, sure, but he's such a crazy athlete that you give him the opportunity to have Patrick Mahomes throwing him the ball and Andy Reid coaching him, and a little bit more leniency on the side of marijuana in the NFL.
The only thing that I would say, like from my perspective, as a positive for him and the Chiefs together, like their main end zone threat really is if they're in the red zone, is like Travis Kelce. I mean, Tyreek Hill runs around a little bit. If Holmes can get time, he can run around a little bit, get open, and he can fire one in. But really, it's like Kelce's the only other guy. So it would add a tall, athletic wideout, which is something they haven't really had. They've had speed, but they haven't had the tall, athletic wideout. You can just huck the ball in the air and he's going to jump up and get it, right? Guys like a Hopkins or guys like,
Sammy Watkins had the size, but he never really had the full talent. And now that he's gone, McCole Hardman just hasn't been quite the total fit they need. So he could work out really well for them, but I don't want to spend too much time on this, but we do want to hear your guys' thoughts because obviously this is a recurring segment every year. Second or third weekend, Josh Gordon pops up.
Reinstatement.
Is he getting high still?
finds a team.
Is he hanging out with Towley still, or is he let that guy go? So Luke, why don't we jump into some reflections from last week, man?
So starting off, reflecting on my calls for fantasy last week, gonna start off with the sleepers. Dawson Knox against Washington was a nail. I'd say nail right on the head.
Yeah, he nailed that catch in the end zone. That was incredible. What do you mean?
That's true, man. He killed that. So Knox obviously finds the end zone again. He surpassed everything that he did in week 2 when it came down to yardage, targets, receptions, and his yards per carry. Yards per carry. He may just be working himself into a starting tight end role in my mind. The next was wide receiver Zack Pascal. Unfortunately, that's where I took a dip right off the start. He only snagged 2 catches. He did have 7 targets, but he was only getting the 31 yards on those 2 catches. The Titans, even without AJ Brown, more on that to come. We're a strong opponent, and that forced Wentz to throw the ball a lot, where he seemed to struggle. The Colts, unfortunately, at QB are certainly unfortunate at QB, and Pascal may be kind of like a week-to-week sleeper flex option in my mind. Next, going into my starts and sits, had the RBs. So I said to start Chris Carson. He exceeded his points, so that was good. He had a good game. He had a 6.67 yards per carry and had 1 TD. Definitely didn't do bad for a running back in a game where Seattle was losing and trying to play catch up. And then I said to sit Antonio Gibson. Bit of a whiff. Gibson did beat his point projections as well, but in reality, his week was really saved by a big catch and run. He ended up actually catching the ball, going for a 73-yard score. Beyond that, he ended up having just 12 rushes for 31 yards. So overall, if you started him, the risk ended up in your favor.
Yeah.
Next, I had tight ends for the start as well. So I said starting Tonyan, and unfortunately that one didn't work out either. Little miscue. Tonyan was virtually unused in the receiving game with Aaron Rodgers. The Rodgers-Adams connection was on full display, and Tonyan really managed to catch the ball just the one time on 1 target, 6 yards. And then we said sitting Jared Cook. That was a fair call. When it came down to it, it was a close call. He did have a touchdown. They called it back due to a penalty on the Chargers. So he ended up with 2 catches on 3 targets for 27 yards. Very sittable. Yeah. Dave, where did you come up?
All right, we're going to slam through it here. Sleep, because none of us great. Sleeper is running back Myles Gaskin of the Miami Dolphins against the Raiders. It was a high-scoring game. Went to overtime, and Miami came close to winning, just like Gaskin did to his projections. Unfortunately, he did fall a little bit short. The Raiders came up with that W. Gaskin did look good when he had the ball, 5 yards per carry, but he only rushed for 65 yards, and he only caught 3 balls out of 6, which is just not quite what we're hoping. So hopefully next week against the Colts, who seem to be struggling, we should see some better performance from Myles Gaskin. Quarterbacks, I picked Daniel Jones. They were hosting Atlanta. No, not at all quite what I expected. I thought that Atlanta looked like, rough going around the edges. I thought that Giants would come out and sling. Danny Dimes had no touchdowns, and he just didn't have a good game. Atlanta they did what they need to do, which I didn't expect. So good on them. True. I did randomly bet on the Falcons for once, and it panned out. But I didn't mean to. I think I hit the wrong button, but I was like, all right. My wide receiver start of the week, I chose Allen Robinson. That was a fail. The Bears had a net 1 passing yard for the week. That's a record, I do believe. And Allen Robinson, even if he had that 1 net yard, didn't matter.
Yeah.
He only ended up 2 catches for 27 yards, and the Bears' offense just couldn't get any momentum going. So I don't know what to do with Allen Robinson going forward. The Bears got to figure out their quarterback situation.
True.
Well, I did tell everybody. Oh, go ahead.
Buddy, they might have already said. Apparently Foles might be jumping in.
They said everybody is the possible opportunity to start, which is crazy.
Well, apparently, because Fields might have hurt his hand is kind of what they're saying. But
yeah. More like his pride.
Excuses.
Yep.
I did tell you to sit AJ Brown, and he sat himself. He you know what's happening with him, right? But last week he had no catches. Like he had some catches, but he kept dropping everything. But then this week it got worse. You know, for fantasy owners like myself, I do have some shares of AJ Brown. He's left the game with a hamstring. Hamstrings linger. He could be out weeks. We don't know. Just don't. If you can try and trade for him, I recommend it. People will sell him, or they're low on him right now. I think you should ride it out. He should be a good end of season candidate.
In a dynasty league, I'd say the same. Yeah, I'd say for sure. If you can keep him, then obviously that's the thing. I guess the one thing is that you're also seeing Tannehill starting to connect with Julio a bit more now.
That really forced it to him last week.
Yeah, it's really taken him away a little bit more attention from him too. Yeah. Could work out for him because you could see more touchdowns maybe from that perspective, but you don't know how much he's going to favor Julio over him.
Tough one to see a guy like that lost.
All I know is that AJ Brown had a very, very serious ankle footing injury last year, and he played through it all, and he was a beast. I can't see this hamstring clearing him up for too long. Yeah. You could easily go, and if you had someone that's overperforming like Adam Thielen, Tyler Lockett, one of those guys that are really hot right now, if you could trade 1-for-1 for AJ Brown, I would do that.
Big win. Yeah.
If I'm getting AJ Brown in that, I think that's the play, and you'll get a lot of people in your fantasy leagues that will have one or the other and think they're either too hot or too cold or they can't worth the risk.
They want to sell high.
Yeah, they need a receiver, right? And if you can take advantage of it, go nuts.
Yeah.
I also did the quarterbacks for starts and sits. I told you to start Sam Darnold. Great call here. Sam Darnold's been playing way better than I expected. I think that I was probably one of the biggest Darnold hype trains there have been. Yeah. I thought he was great talent even in New York. I just thought that Adam Gase got the best of him and he was seeing ghosts because of that idiot. But as expected, the Panthers came out strong. You know, they played the Texans on Thursday night. They lost CMC, didn't stop Darnold. You know, he got the job done. 300 yards in the air, over 300. Yeah. And he even, vultured a couple touchdowns, running them in. There was like a crazy odd too. It was like $4,500 payout if Darnold ran 2 touchdowns. I hope you put money on that, folks.
A couple of guys in our fantasy league had said, he's definitely running 2 himself. Crazy.
Yeah. And then my last, I said sit Joe Burrow at the Steelers. Not quite a whiff, not quite a win. Burrow scraped out a win against the Steelers, which I did tell you to put some money on, so hopefully you did. He threw 3 touchdowns. Jamar Chase getting another one. But he only had 172 yards, and he did throw a pick, so he looked more normal, like an average quarterback would be. But and T. Higgins caught one too, and they've got the Jaguars, and they've got the Higgins was out, right?
Yeah. No, it was Boyd that had that.
That
was a nice touchdown.
And they got the Jaguars coming up, which is
obviously a good matchup.
Start them. For our bets though, not gonna have them often, but
good for you, Dave.
For the money lines, we went 12-4.
Nice.
We only whiffed on the Eagles, the Seahawks, which got beat by the Vikings, who look very good. The Giants, which we all thought probably should have beat Atlanta. And we also lost on the Chiefs, getting beat at home by the Chargers. Yeah. So, I mean, I'll take those. Everything else...
Those are kind of, like you said, underdog stories that you wouldn't really expect. So, yeah, I definitely take those losses any day.
Yeah. So, that being said, that summarizes our reflections.
Yeah.
I'm going to jump into some small stories, if that's okay with you, boys.
Let's get into it. Tell me some week 4 stories.
Maybe do you want to have a quick chat about a couple of heroic kicks?
Oh, all right.
Fighting.
Wait, I'm all flustered now. So as many of you know, Dave and I both like different teams. Him being the Baltimore Ravens, and me being the Detroit Lions. This weekend was an emotional roller coaster for me. Not only did I think that I was going to lose all 3 of my fantasy games, ended up winning them at matches up.
Small solace.
But that game aged me so much.
It's because you finally thought you had some hope. And I'm not going to lie, I had accepted a loss. At this point, when the Lions have a chance, they pick off Lamar and they drive down and they get a field goal to take the lead by 2 points, or by 1 point, sorry. I'm like, no way.
Yeah.
And like Lamar is not a 1 minute drive, let's go be a heroic kind of quarterback. So I was like, oh shit, it's over. And then you go to 4th and 29?
4th and 19.
4th and 19, sorry. And Lamar threw for about 29 yards. And to Watkins, who didn't get out of bounds, he just took to the ground, which I was like, oh my God, are they even going to get up there and spike this thing?
Yeah.
And it led to a Justin Tucker 66-yard field goal attempt.
You're missing one core thing. You're missing one core.
I can't wait to dispute this one.
Stop in the thing there. There's apparently the Baltimore Ravens started a new rule where the play clock, when it hits 0, it doesn't really hit 0. And I'd like to acknowledge that many people have acknowledged that this is a thing, including Pat McAfee, all of our heroes. So yeah, that's like, and then I understand there's the argument out there is that the TV clock is sometimes off from that. Sure, not 3 seconds. It's not off by 3 seconds.
Don't care. At the end of the day, Marquise Brown drops 2 touchdowns. That's the game. Lamar didn't scramble for as much as he possibly could have. That's your game difference. Your Lions, if TJ Hawkinson caught more balls, maybe they would have won. You can't pinpoint one thing that went wrong because there's too many things that happen in a football game. And the fact that your defense still let Lamar make a 30-yard pass, whether it's on time or not, that's on you guys.
Yeah,
well,
but I don't know.
I think at the very end, because it was after that big catch, it was.
No, it was leading up to that catch. Was
that catch?
Sure, but if they would have got
so, what you're saying though is you're relying this, so and so dropped and so dropped and this guy didn't do that. Those are personal errors. This is like a literal reffing game clock.
Oh, there was some mistakes in that game altogether.
It was a direct correlation. Like if they got off in time. Here's the thing: if they got off in time, I would absolutely agree with you. Oh man, if only T.J. Hawkinson caught some more balls, or Amon-Ra St. Brown actually was playing like his actual pick should be, and from what he was picked at, I should mean. But in the case that that stuff did happen in the course of a game, which happens. But this was a direct, like, if they call it, he moves back 5 yards.
And makes the same pass.
That does not stop.
That's what I'm saying. You're using a lot of what ifs. You can't.
No, but
it's done. Like, it's done.
He's not kicking. He's not kicking 73 yards. Like he
wasn't kicking 66 either, bud.
Yeah, he wasn't. It hit the crossbar to get in.
That was so dramatic.
Best kick of all time, and Tucker's the best kicker of all time now.
Absolutely, and I have nothing but respect for Justin Tucker because you and I were sitting there.
Oh yeah, we were very.
As soon as they got the spike up after I yelled with a delayed game, I was like, "Oh great, here it goes. Justin Tucker's going to kick the longest field goal of all time for this." And then what happens? At first I cheered because I thought it landed before.
Right, same.
Yeah. I was very devastated. The camera angle kind of looked out. It was like, "Oh my god." But no, in classic Lion fashion, you will lose on the record play when you did everything you needed to do to win. You'll lose on a record play that just lose, and the refs, and you get a letter in the mail.
Only happens to the Lions.
We're gonna find out later. We're gonna find out later that Dave has some good news on the way he feels about the Lions this week.
You're damn right.
So
this segues perfectly into stories for this week.
Yes, because today's first small story it's going to involve a quick look at all of our undefeated teams going into week 4.
And the Lions are definitely not one of them.
No, or the Ravens at this point too. But we're going to start with the AFC West, the Denver Broncos, and the Las Vegas Raiders in 2-1 division. Now the Broncos are definitely a slight overlook as they did have to play only the Giants, the Jags, and the Jets.
Yeah,
those are all 0-3 teams. No, sorry, Giants are 1-2, right?
They won 1.
Yeah, they won 1. And they get to take on the Ravens next week, so that'll be
a real skill testing.
That'll be a skill testing question. Yeah. Now
for the Ravens,
correct. Probably it should be closer than you think. I'm pretty sure that the Broncos are favored at home. Where the Raiders have given a loss to the Ravens, the Steelers, and now the Dolphins. Now, don't get me wrong, all those games have been pretty like really messy wins for the Raiders.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how you get a win. Whether it's a delay, a game miss, a 66-yard field goal, doesn't matter.
Sorry, do you see this?
Yeah. Sorry. Now they do go on the road and they take on the Chargers next week. Do you boys think the Raiders or the Broncos have a better chance of entering week 5 4-0? Who's going to have a better chance?
I would rather play the Ravens.
Yeah.
Ravens are full of injuries. Yeah.
Broncos are at home too.
Chargers just beat the Chiefs, so dangerous.
Yeah. I think I'd like and the only reason I'm not putting anything against the Ravens, but they are hurt. It definitely obviously helped. Yeah, just a couple guys, you know. And, but I think you do have a little bit more of an opportunity to take advantage of some things. I wouldn't want to, jump in against that Chargers team just yet. So
moving on. I'm with you guys, by the way. I think the Broncos have a better shot. Yeah. I think that the Raiders are really good, but the Chargers look better.
Tim Patrick, baby.
NFC South, the Carolina Panthers, 3-0. Mm-hmm. So there's a couple things I want to talk about that I don't even have in the notes. CMC out for now. I think they're going to make a quick... Like, if you go out and you went and got Chuba Hubbard, good for you. He's going to play a couple games, but I don't think it's something you want to spend too much fab on if you haven't already. Because they're going to rush CMC to get back. Last year, they had nothing to play for. This year, they've got a lot to play for. They're 3-0. But they have beaten, again, some pretty rough teams.
They've already said that CMC is not going on the IR.
Yep.
So there you go.
And that being said, like, everyone's saying in Carolina, it's just all about, who they've played so far. But I don't care. You can only drive the car for the keys you were given. The schedule, they didn't choose it. They're going out there and they're winning games.
True.
They're 3-0, but they do have to take on Dallas, then Philly, and then Minnesota.
We got 2 wins, potential wins there.
Two possible wins.
Minnesota, the way that they're going, the Minnesota team is scary.
They look good.
Well, all 3 of those teams can go out there and score.
Yeah.
That's going to be kind of the big thing is, can the Panthers keep up with that offense, or can their defense slow down the other offense that much?
I'm telling you this, man. Like, a couple of my leagues, I've got, all right, one of my leagues got Kirk Cousins, but I've got some decent quarterbacks that are in there. Stafford's one of them, but I mean, I think I have Stafford, Dak, Kirk, and like Goff or whatever on my bench. I mean, I'm taking
a 2 quarterback dynasty league.
At this point, it's not on our leagues or anything. Like, it's a 2 quarterback dynasty league. At this point, I'm taking Dak up and putting Kirk in. After the past 2 games, Dak,
he's killing it.
He's doing all right, but from Kirk's perspective, like he's putting up from a fantasy perspective, he's putting up the points I need.
Yes,
is what it is. And
he has also 0 interceptions this year.
Yeah,
which is insane.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to think about.
Anyways.
We've got 2 other teams that are undefeated, and both of them are in the NFC West. We have the LA Rams, which I think honestly look like the best team in the NFL on paper, and the eye just observing too. Like they look like they play phenomenal. That game against Tampa Bay was lights out. Like Matt Stafford loves Sean McVay. Sean McVay loves Matt Stafford. Cooper Kupp's feeding him bananas for breakfast. Like, it's weird, but it's working for them, and they look great. Their first 2 games were a little shaky. Closer game than it should have been to the Colts. Even closer game than it should have been against the Bears.
Yeah.
But I think after that win over Tampa, they look pretty good.
That's a defensive thing. I think they were just trying to figure it out from a defensive perspective, because their offense seems like it's really figuring itself out.
Well, I mean, we have been back and forth on the Higbee of it all as well, and then Higbee goes out and has a big game for Matt Stafford last week too. I think Matt Stafford is just finding more chemistry every week, and he's just going to continue.
They just got to figure out the running game's hurt right now, so I think that's just the only thing, is that once they solidify that bit, maybe Henderson comes back because he's been playing well in that, or maybe Sony Michel just starts to get his feet under him and starts playing. He's a good running back. Like, he has potential.
He's serviceable for sure.
Yeah, for them.
Well, he doesn't have to be the dominant player. Like, when you have Kupp, when you have Woods, when you have Higbee, when you have Stafford slinging the ball. Yeah, when you have Stafford slinging the ball like that, you don't need the rush to happen that often. Sony can step in.
You boys, you guys kind of forgot about Mr. Deshawn Jackson too, man.
Well, geez, we watched him try to find him 3 times and finally did the 3rd time.
Yeah,
but he had 2
Showing
long
how fast
catches.
he's at 35 years old. You know what I mean?
There was probably 2. There was 2 for sure that were, it was 40 or 50 plus, and then finally, eventually, did find him that 3rd time.
Yeah. Now, that being said, the Rams get a chance to host the other 3-0 team, also in the NFC West, Arizona Cardinals.
So who's gonna come out on top?
Who do you guys think? Rams are obviously favored. They're at home. They look better.
I'm going Rams. I just think that, like, by all means, like, Kyler's great and all, and like so is that receiving core. You got a little bit of a shaking up there, Hopkins, when it comes to it. Unless AJ Green comes out being like, "Hey, remember when I had like that one really like awesome season in that?" Like, he might have a game like that. But I just think from a complete team perspective, like, I think that you get Donald in Kyler's face, and you get guys like that. If you can make Kyler have to run around a lot, I mean, look, he makes those crazy plays from time to time, but if you make him try to do that every single play, you're now putting up possible interceptions and you're putting things like that up, and he's still young. He still makes some mistakes.
You brought up the one point that will completely change my mind. if Hopkins is absolutely not just a decoy, if he's absolutely healthy, they are the exact same team, and it's a pick 'em for me. Like, both have great defenders, both have phenomenal offenses, both are better on the throw than they are on the rush. Both have so many opportunities to throw the ball too. If Hopkins can be the cup, then it's 50-50. I'm not picking.
I'm riding the Cardinals.
Are you?
I am.
So we are a straight split.
Show your work.
So I think that if Hopkins is a decoy or not, that's going to take Ramsey out of the game regardless.
Sure.
And there's too many weapons that Kyler Murray can get the ball to in AJ Green, in Moore, in
Say it.
Kirk.
Yeah, there you go.
Christian Kirk's going to have, you'll see later, this is a foreshadowing. Christian Kirk's going to have a big game. And then you have both the running backs are playing very well as well. They're doing a good job of splitting the time there. The Rams haven't really shown that they have a phenomenal run game. They have a good run game.
And then Kyler Murray can rush too.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that even if the Cardinals start trailing, which they probably will, Kyler's just going to sling bombs regardless, and guys are going to catch it. So I like the favors. I like the payout on the money line for a division game like that. Same as the Chargers Chiefs for me. I would but yeah, I'm gonna go with the Cardinals, and not strictly just because to make this show interesting.
Yeah. But so we do need you guys out there to help us split the vote.
What do you think?
Yeah, we've got Rams, we've got Cardinals, and I'm not making a choice. So you guys make it for me.
The one slight X factor I'll throw in for the Cardinals slightly is that James Conner's progressively getting a bit better, and that he could be a big play in there. So
the big part of what I look at it too is if they lose this game against the Rams, it could be quick downhill for the Cardinals because they got the Niners the next week and then the Browns the next week.
Yeah.
So they got a tough sledding ahead of them.
Yeah, you want to start with a win out. So big game. Definitely watching it.
Maybe we should talk about a game that's a little more lopsided. Luke, what do you think?
Oh, it's definitely lopsided, but it's just as big. My story for this week is New England hosting Tom Brady and the Bucks. Sunday night game, of course, because everybody's waiting for a Sunday night. Big loss to the Rams. The Bucks are coming in to New England, and Tom Brady's going to be pissed. I've seen it on social media. The Tom Brady slumped over in anger, looking at the ground, and God, you just feel bad for the Pats after that. Like, he hates losing more than he hates bread.
Yeah.
He's not
like bread.
He's not going to go in there and lose that game. And he now has the opportunity to join Brett Favre and Peyton Manning as the only QBs to beat all 32 NFL teams.
Such a sweet
because he's
victory.
never left the Pats. This is the time.
He's gonna show Mac Jones what shoes he's trying to fill.
Yeah.
And he's gonna.
That's if he didn't already know.
Well, I know, but when you it's different to already know. But then I'm sure from his perspective, it's stepping on the same field as him, trying to do what he does, and then having him go out there and show you how to do it. And
the other big part of it too is the passing title's up for grabs.
Yeah,
it's inevitable. He's got less than 70 yards to pass the crown.
Imagine if he doesn't.
He's gonna do it in one.
70 yards against the Pats.
What about Bill?
He's going to do it in the first pass of the game. He's going to do it in the first pass of the game. It'll just be a 70-yard ball.
Just smash.
So you don't think there's a chance in hell the Pats could maybe sneak out a victory here?
Very slight. I mean, again, Bill Belichick obviously knows Brady. Brady obviously knows their offense, knows their defense, knows their playbook. Bill Belichick has the opportunity to plan ahead, and I'm sure he's had this game circled for weeks before the season, likely. As soon as the schedule came out, Bill said, okay, I can't lose this game. So there's definitely a shot. I just don't think that team has the skill.
I mean, in Bill Belichick's crazy mastermind that he is, he does know Tom Brady. He knows that certain things that he needs to do against him, right? Let's get him on the ground, let's get him frustrated, let's get him things like that. But Brady kind of came out and said already, he's like, I'm not expecting any pretty much warm welcomes here. No. And in the back of his head, even though he's tries to be pretty, political when he goes in, but in the back of the head, he's like,
less so nowadays.
I know, but in the back of his head, he's like,
Florida's
jaded him. He's like, I'm going to have the homecoming of a like a legend. I'm going to come up there, first pass is going all the way down. It's going to be to Gronk too somehow, and it's going to be
Edelman comes out of nowhere.
It really is starting to bother me internally that I am starting to enjoy the new Tom Brady, the Tampa Bay Tom Brady.
I like Florida Tom Brady
because he's not Between him and Aaron Rodgers, they're the most outspoken. They tell you exactly what should be, exactly how they feel. I think that's how it should be across the board, but everyone's way too political about it. So they're making the actual, like, the soap opera side of the NFL a lot more fun. But yeah, Tom. Okay,
guys,
that's a question to end the
That's a-
segment then. Question to end the segment. Who has a better chance of winning? The Patriots hosting Tom Brady or the Bills hosting the Texans?
Oh, fuck, Dave.
Jesus, I'm not even answering that. But the one part
The
is
Bills are going to beat the Texans, and the Bucks are going to beat the Pats.
So what team, which matchup is the underdog have a better shot?
Texans.
I think the Texans are more likely to go on the road and beat
Yes.
the Bills than the Pats are to host Tampa.
Yeah.
I disagree.
Okay. But I mean, I get it. But same, I want to mention one thing. I think the thing about Rodgers and Brady is that they've earned that right to be like that.
Oh, God,
you
yeah.
gotta earn it. If
Their season.
Justin Fields started coming up there, they're like, Nick Foles is gonna start, buddy. You go down on it.
100%.
Anyways, we'll keep going.
Seasoned professionals get the opportunity to do what they want.
Yeah. But I guess we'll jump over to
Tell me your story.
Tell me some wires.
Yeah, like we're having a little fantasy talk here because
please.
there's some good kind of conversation really to have with it, because essentially we're going to be looking at some must-owns on the wire. Some guys that essentially might be available on the waiver wire right now, maybe taken, may not be, but somebody you should really look at. And the first one is, I already said it earlier, Tim Patrick, man.
Timothy Patrick.
I love him. He does, like, if for some reason he's not, or he's on the waiver wire still, not on someone's roster, like, go get him. Yes. I mean, like, the guy's just, like, he's been absolutely lighting it up. He has most routes on the team. I mean, especially with Jerry Jeudy being, obviously injured and everything like that. He's been taking that over. KJ Hamler's now tore his ACL.
Yeah,
I mean,
more targets for him, right?
The only thing, like, if you had to go against it, like, it's just that the fact that maybe teams will focus a little bit more on him from a defensive standpoint. But in the end, like, he's just been playing too well to not have on your team. And especially if it's a dynasty league, like, if he finds another team later on, he's going to be a big portion of it. So that's definitely something. And Teddy Bridgewater is definitely going to be, connecting with him pretty well.
For sure.
Yeah, if the defenses are focusing on Sutton and Fant, it just opens things up for Patrick. So just a nice situation for him to be in.
He shut me up twice. I have him in a dynasty league, and 2 times I was like, okay, I'm going to start him, but I think this is a bad choice. And then he did well each of those times.
Good stuff.
Yeah, he's been great. The other, like, an honorable mention for the wide receiver would be Cedric Wilson.
Yeah.
He
looked
played
good.
He played great last night, obviously, and especially with Gallup being out right now, he's going to be stepping in those shoes. And in my opinion, he filled them last night, I think, pretty well. And so I think that he will definitely be somebody good for a deep stash that you can use
100%
down the line.
I'm with that.
In the running back era, Peyton Barber.
Ugh. Didn't think I'd hear anybody on this show say that.
I know, right?
It is weird. It's honestly weird. Like, I remember, like, we were putting, you get, the notes are in here, and I take like a double take because, like, Peyton Barber we're talking about, but it is what it is, because in all honesty, he played, when he played that game, he's been doing well with the Raiders, especially with having Josh Jacobs being out right now. There's a potential that he may be out longer, or it may just be one of those aggravating injuries that, like, he may be.
I think Jacobs has like 19 different below the waist injuries at the moment.
Yeah,
It's true. He's always questionable, doubtful, out. Questionable, doubtful, out.
Yeah. Toes, pinky toes, hamstrings, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And where he's a guy that can go, obviously off and on with his injuries. Peyton Barber showed up the other night and played really well. So it's.
I read a stat too. That was actually his career best for rushing yards.
100% it was.
It's crazy.
I mean,
he's been around. He's been on other teams.
Yeah, but
so
having,
me, I was just like,
having
what?
Peyton Barber there on our must-owns, it feels filthy.
It does.
I know.
It does. It really does.
Yeah.
Because you'd think Kenyon Drake went there. Well, he really hasn't done much.
Well, that's the thing. You'd think that would be Ken Drake, but it's not. I mean, he ran 57% of the snaps, right?
Yeah.
23 rushes for 111 yards with a touchdown.
Gruden does love mediocre running backs that can fall forward 3 feet. 3 yards.
4 feet.
He does. Gruden's so old school like that, man. He just is. Just who he is as a coach. As a coach.
But I mean, you know, like in the end, he's earned it. Like he's honestly earned it.
If he's on the wire, you got to go get him.
Yeah, I mean, go get him. I mean, he's worth a have. Because in the end, Josh Jacobs may not always play, and when he doesn't play, you put him in.
Yep.
If Josh Jacobs plays, take him out. Put your other starters in that you drafted. Yep. Honorable mention. This one's Dave.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna be honest with you. This is Dave's honorable mention, but I get it. And that would be fullback.
The juice.
Yes, Kyle Juszczyk. So, I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, we had the conversation before this where right now that backfield is a little bit hurt and inconsistent.
It's mucky.
And yeah. And so he's been the one that's honestly just been... He's been on the team for
the longest
and anyone's been on a team, it feels like sometimes. But like they're gonna use him. End zone threat, like you can put him in especially if you got guys hurt or anything like that. You can put him in flex or anything like that. You get to the 1 yard line. I think that more times than not, he's going to be the one that's going to be getting the ball to be pushed in, and he runs like nice little screen passes every now and then.
He's a big
and like,
dude, but he gets it done.
This guy is an absolute unit of a man. He is athletic as shit. And Shanahan's offense, as you can see, you plug a running back in, they do well. And Shanahan's finally gone like, well, fuck, Kyle just... Instead of blocking for one of the 38 running backs that break themselves, I'm just going to give him the ball because he does it really well. And he showed that he really did. And in the last game, Trey Sermon did not look great against the Pack.
No, man.
He didn't in the first half anyways. So he put in Juszczyk, and Juszczyk ran clock on them. And then they gave Sermon another shot in the second half, looked a little bit better, but Juszczyk was still out there just doing his thing, man. He's definitely a deeper stash, so I'll give you guys that one. But if he's there and you're hurting for a running back or even a decent flex, man, go get the Niners. They're a good team with a good offense.
Yeah, valid.
They're
100%
very,
valid.
They're dynamic, right? So in the tight end position, Dalton Schultz.
Yes.
Absolutely.
After last night.
Well, yeah, I mean, but in all honesty, I mean, it depends on how deep your league is to see if he's really available or not. But, like, I mean, the guy's always shown up. Like, I mean, like, and Dallas has clearly been a team that does like to use their tight ends. I mean, obviously they come from having Witten for so long and things like that. But, and they're using him. I mean, he's been consistent to grab. I mean, I think, honestly, CeeDee Lamb goes up and down a little bit, in my perspective. In certain situations that you
was
need.
going to be the guy there, but Schultz definitely has taken over as the preferred option at tight end.
Well, because Jarwin went out last year, Schultz showed that he can do what he can. And he like I picked him up on the waiver last year, and he was my serviceable tight end all year. Yep. And that was the Andy Dalton most of the year. Dak's lighting up.
Yeah. And it's also just the fact that from an offense perspective, you obviously want to have a tight end that, like, you're kind of running into a Tanyan a little bit. Are they using the tight end? Doesn't matter how talented you are. If you're not using him, he's not going to catch any balls, right? And so it's kind of something that is clearly been a weapon for the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah. That the Titans big there, and so Dalton Schultz is definitely an option. If he's on the waiver wire, go get him. Yeah. But an honorable mention would be Tyler Conklin. Yeah. Played really well. The other night, 7 for 8 targets, 70 yards, and he got a touchdown. I mean, honestly,
that one haunted me in the league last week.
Yeah, same argument, right? Kirk and Dak are both lights out right now. You know, they have their targets. They like their big guys. Conklin's a great honorable mention for sure.
Yep. I mean, we used to have Rudolph there and everything like that. So, I mean, the guy's coming in and you just play. I mean, if you're a tight end that's replacing a good tight end that's been on the team for a while,
you know the playbook is there for you to excel.
There, you can excel as long as you show up. Hey, you're gonna go and you're gonna be serviceable and you're gonna have a good season.
Tight ends,
get out there and do your job.
Tight ends, you play them and you hope they get a touchdown. These are both guys that are probably likely to get a touchdown.
Yep.
They're not Waller, they're not Kelsey, they're not there to catch 10 balls a game. It's ready to go. So that's a nice transition to a beautiful segment, Drake.
Big segment of fantasy.
Let's jump right in.
And now, coming to you you live with our fantasy starts, sits, and sleepers. I don't know why I decided to be Bruce Buffer there, but I think it worked. So I'm gonna get us started on the starts, sits. I'm going with running back. So everybody out there, if you are looking for opportunities for guys to start and sit for running backs, listen to me. I'm going with A.J. Dillon playing the Steelers this week. So the Steelers, they just don't look like the Steelers of old. They don't look like the Steelers that we know. Ben Roethlisberger's not been good. It seems as though the Packers are going to want to make sure that Aaron Jones sees some healthy sits, and they want to make him last for the long season. The Packers are definitely going to want to establish a run game, and against the Steelers, they have the opportunity to do that. Dillon should definitely see some above average snaps, so he definitely should be doing more than the 30% average he's seen. He's projected to be 7 points. I just don't see him not exceeding that. Anything from the crowd here, boys? Any thoughts?
Yeah, no, I like it too. I like A.J. Dillon. I have him in 2 of my leagues. I've really been waiting for him to really have a big game. So I'm going to say, because I'm probably going to have him on there. So
really hoping for that.
AJ, we know you're watching. Please.
Quick take on Dillon before you jump into your sit. Which I like the comparison here. A couple of backup guys.
Yeah.
Dillon is mostly a stash in case Jones dies.
For sure.
If Jones goes out for any reason, AJ Dillon is a top 5 running back to own, right?
Easily, yeah.
But he's also, the Packers are using him way more than I thought they would without Jones not being used. So yeah,
Jones has obviously been phenomenal, but like I was saying, getting the opportunity to give him some time to slow down and sit down to make him last for the season is going to be a big thing. So Dillon is inevitably, whether it's this week or next, he's going to inevitably get more touches.
And we're seeing that with other teams too. They are starting to stretch out their running backs a little bit more, getting a really good backup and having guys like you saw. Cleveland did it with Chubb a bit. Like you saw, Kareem Hunt was in there way more in the last game because you can tell.
Felton.
Because they need to rest him.
Yep. So. And then very similar to that, I'm saying sit on Tony Pollard. So Tony, the Panthers defense looks really good.
They do.
Like we've been talking about. I think they're probably one of the scariest offenses that they're going to play all year. But most of the movement should really come from Elliott. He looked really good Monday night. I just don't know that Tony's going to get the opportunities, much like I think Dillon will. I expect Pollard's probably going to see some, drop plays. He's not going to get the opportunities. Probably won't see the field as much, and he played 38% at home, so I just don't think that he's going to be able to get that amount of touches. And again, he was projected for 7 points. I don't know that he'll get it. It'll probably be more of a 5-point range in my mind.
I might disagree with you.
Fair.
And the only reason I kind of will. Here's my thing. I was actually beforehand I would agree with you because we were sitting there talking, and I think Dave, you were sitting there saying like, I feel like Pollard's a better running back than Elliott. And I was kind of like, what? Like no way. And then like every game, I'm just kind of like, he's playing better. Like he's making the bigger plays when he needs to. I mean, I'm sure Elliott's in there for more snaps at times, and he's just kind of chugging along. On the 1 yard line, they're going to pound him through or do something like that. But in the end, like the only thing is that I feel like Tony Pollard could be used a bit more this game because of a defense will change their scheme based off of the personnel that goes on the field. So their play call may change when Elliott's on the field. And when Elliott's not on the field, they may look at maybe a higher percentage of a pass or something like that. Pollard, that's where he can come out and play really big because when Elliott's not on the field, he has more of a chance to surprise a defense with a very large play. So, he definitely could be there potentially in my perspective. Could be wrong, maybe be wrong, but we'll find out.
That's right. We'll find out.
Dave?
Pollard. Mike McCarthy's an idiot, I think. Yes, I think that Pollard is as talented, if not even a little bit more. So he just seems more bursty when he has the rock. But man, Elliott played lights out at home on Monday night. Going forward, you're going to see a little bit less of Tony Pollard. That being said, if you own Tony Pollard, hold him. He is arguably the most important, maybe number 2 behind Alexander Madison or Hubbard, but he is the most important running back to stash as a handcuff.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
onto the quarterbacks.
Just because you sit him doesn't mean you get rid of him.
Correct.
Next I'll get into quarterbacks as well. I'm going to go with Jacoby Brissett for the start.
I like you.
The Colts are just not good. Now, Brissett didn't look good against Buffalo either, but he did everything that he could to put his team in a position to win. He's got more opportunity to kind of see practice and kind of work the helm of that offense, so I think he might have the opportunity to put up some decent numbers. He's only projected for 17, and again, with the Colts having allowed 80 points in the last 3 games, I think there's an opportunity for Brissett now having Fuller in there. Obviously, Parker Gesicki's finding his routes and stuff too. I think there's an opportunity for Brissett to outscore his projected points.
I think you're right. He did look awful against Buffalo, but he was thrown into it, mid injury of Tua. He had a full week to work with the first team reps and showed that he knows what he's doing as a backup quarterback against the Raiders. And you give him another week against probably a lesser team. I think Miami's favored at home. I like Brissett.
Yeah.
I agree with it. I'm going to be honest. I'm not going to make this exciting. Yes.
Yeah,
Valid.
we got to power through these anyways. So that's fine.
Fair enough. The sit is going to be Mac Jones.
No.
Mac Jones against the Bucks. We talked enough about it already. There's really not a lot to say.
He's going to get destroyed.
They're playing at home, sure, but the Bucks defense is not bad. Yes, Bill Belichick has time, but it doesn't matter. He's going to end up having to force a bunch of plays. Brady's going to have them down a bunch of points. Mac's just not going to be able to hit the mark here. I don't see it.
That Bucks defense is not only going to, with the receivers that they have there. I mean, you got no more, James White either. He was hurt.
White out
things
too,
like that.
valid.
But that Bucks defense is the big thing for me. They're going to do exactly what you kind of think they're going to do in terms of they're going to be hammering on. And I think that O-line on Pats is kind of wavering a little bit. Mm-hmm. And so I think that you're going to have guys go in there, put pressure on Mac, and he's just not going to be able to find guys open. And when they are open, he's already going to have a Buccaneers helmet in his face.
True.
So that's what I think.
Dave, you got tight ends, boy.
Yeah, I was going to say ditto and all that stuff. Like that's Mac Jones. I'll pull out a South Park meme. If you're Mac Jones, you're going to have a bad time.
You're going to have a bad time.
So, both, just a reminder, too, for those of you who don't know or you're seeing this or hearing this for the first time, our start and stits, what we do is we take similar projections of the same position. In this case, we just did 2 quarterbacks, both projected 17 points, and we split them up saying this one's probably going to exceed, this one's probably going to, underwhelm you. So going forward, just so you guys are aware of how that works, I do have the tight end position, and I am starting, we brought him up earlier, Tyler Conklin against the Browns.
Let's go Bikes.
Cleveland is a really good defense, don't get me wrong, but right now it doesn't matter because Kirk likes that. He likes that.
Oh, you like that?
He's been unstoppable, man. He has no interceptions, and maybe this week it changes. But until we see Kirk do something out of what he's doing currently, you got to ride his weapons. And if you need a tight end, I think he's owned by he's on the waiver about 60% of your teams and leagues out there.
Yeah.
Conklin's a great pickup. I'm putting money in on him in one of my leagues. I just need to at this point. And I think you guys should too.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm with you there. We talked about Conklin. I think he's definitely got the opportunity. I missed on him on the waivers last week, and now he's going to be a hot commodity. So if you can get out there and get him, get him.
My sit for the tight ends this week, to go along with the trend of New England having a rough go, Jonnu Smith versus the Buccaneers. He hasn't looked good. Maybe that's a result as the team in general. But with the case of the drop skis, he grabbed 1 of 6 last week. 1 of 6. And one of those was a really big bobble that turned into a really bad interception. I just expect a lot of the same thing in week 4.
And Hunter Henry didn't drop balls. So I think there's an opportunity for him to lose touches.
Both tight ends expected 7 points. So there's what we lay there. Drake, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm just going to quickly say Luke hit it right on the head there. Not only is he going against a tough D, but Hunter Henry, I think, is at that point where we talked about, I think, for week 1, where he's going to start to pull ahead a bit. So, yeah. I've got the wide receiver position. It's kind of a trend for me today. But yeah, so the wide receiver starts, Mecole Hardman, for sure. Going against the Eagles, the big thing with that is that they came off a loss on a game that they really wanted to win. Mahomes going to be frustrated. So you're going to have him come out and just want to go to town on. I would not want to be the team in front of the Chiefs this week.
Nope. True.
Let alone
Very
it
true.
being the Philadelphia Eagles. Not as strong as a team you'd probably want to see against them on a
their
on a
defense
rebound
didn't do
game,
well
let's just
in
say.
Dallas, so
I mean, But that being said, I mean, I think that obviously you look at guys like that's going to be on a team like Tyreek Hill and Kelsey, they're going to do well. But I think you're just going to see Mahomes is going to use every weapon. He's going to use everybody. So everyone has potential to make one big play. And for some guy, for a guy like Hardman, if you're going to maybe start him in like a flex position or anything like that, he'll get you. I think that's that touchdown that you're going to be looking for to get you that double-digit point to really kind of.
Yeah, that's valid. I mean, we know Mecole can go for a long bomb. So there's definitely opportunity for him to smash points there.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, 100%. Dave, anything?
I'm with you. I think that, the defense of Philly, they're going to have to try and do their best to stop Kelsey and Hill, and that's going to leave other guys open. So that's what's going to happen. Who you sitting, Drake?
Who am I sitting? I'm sitting as I'm actually going to be starting to click through these things on time. I've been so sorry. A little rusty. It was off a week. I'm sitting Robbie Anderson.
Okay. I like it.
Just that Dallas defense is what is just going to be a tough thing. And it's not necessarily the secondary, it's that linebacking core. I think that they are going to put pressure.
Front end too, yeah.
Yeah, they're going to put pressure on Sammy D there. So I think that is just going to make him throw balls that aren't just going to be on point. And I think there's going to be a lot of room for he may make a good catch or two, but not from one that you might be looking at from one of your top 1 or 2 or 3, depending on your league receivers. So,
well, I think we kind of mentioned it a little bit before too. CMC gives you the opportunity to just jump out. You don't have to have Darnold throwing the ball all the time. Darnold was only throwing, 19, 20 throws a game when CMC is somebody that you can rely on. With him being out, Chuba Hubbard's going to be good. I believe that. But it's going to force the ball into Darnold's hands for throws more often. And I mean, he didn't really find Robbie Anderson much last week at all anyway. So if you're going to force Darnold to throw more, there's going to be more opportunities for error. And I feel like Robbie might probably end up being the bad end of that because DJ Moore's a little bit better.
Personally, I hope we're wrong on this one, but I'm with you guys. Dallas's defense looked really good at pressure. Darnold is not known to be a scrambling quarterback. He doesn't, extend the play. And if they are going to win, which I think they can, don't get me wrong, they are underdogs on the road. But I think if they are going to win, they're going to have to play some dink and dunk, and that doesn't necessarily involve Robbie Anderson.
Yeah.
No, I think when it comes to if you're a team that is looking to go against a strong linebacking core or defensive line or anything like that, your main defense against that is the play action. So when if you had CMC in there, you have that play action all day long because he is the number one threat on that team. So they're going to be their focus to take that away. But right now, where you don't have CMC, they can sit on that play action a little bit more and just force Chuba inside if he does get it, and if he doesn't, they're going to come right at Sam Darnold there, and it's just not going to be nearly as effective.
Yeah.
So
enter Sandman.
Enter
Sleepy
Oh jeez.
All right.
Jumping in some sleeps.
Sleepers. I've got the tight end this week for a sleeper, and I actually do have him on a couple teams too. Mike Gesicki.
Let's go, Big Mike.
Playing with my feelings.
Big Mike against the Colts. He had 12 targets last week.
A dozen.
And that's even with Fuller back in, which is crazy. Not a whole baker's dozen. Just a whole dozen.
Put up goose eggs.
Yeah. So we were talking about Brissett and him finding the opportunity to actually find some weapons. I think if Brissett does do what we expected and does have the opportunity to have a bit better of a game, Big Mike is going to be a big target out there. So expect the QB to heavily involve your tight end. And again, the Colts D, not fantastic. He's only projected for 6 points. I could see him getting double digits with a red zone touch.
I like it. I've got back-to-backs here. We're doing quarterback followed by wide receiver. My quarterback sleeper, which is, it's not easy to ever say this one, but it's Jameis Winston versus the New York Giants.
Eat them dubs.
Yeah, Winston didn't blow our mind against New England, but he doesn't play New England again. He gets to play the Giants. The Giants were favored last week at home against Atlanta. I didn't like it then. I don't know who gave that projection. They don't look good.
Yeah.
So unless Winston has one of his weird bipolar moments, he should have a chance to light up. He's expected for 18 points. I'm thinking he's going to get 20 plus.
20 plus.
20
Big
plus.
numbers. And I mean, hey, the Saints have a good team. I think you're on pace.
And for my wide receiver position, earlier mentioned, foreshadowed even, Christian Kirk at the LA Rams. I know this is a bold choice against the Rams defense, but Kyler's going to ball out and sling bombs regardless of how the game script goes. With Hopkins still on the mend, well, maybe. We're hoping not, but we're probably going to see Ramsey on him whether he's a decoy or not. So I'd expect Kirk to shoulder most of his load of 9 projected fantasy points. I think he's going to score maybe twice.
Maybe twice. I mean, he's done it already this season.
2 times one
Never
game
know.
against the Rams.
2 times one game. Wow.
What do you think, Drake?
wow.
Let's move on to the running back core.
Yeah, we can do that. Where my sleeper is going to be Sir Kenneth Gainwell.
I like it.
I feel like
Deep
he's
sleep.
sure. Yeah, I mean, in the end, he's been splitting a lot of the snaps with Sanders.
Yeah.
And when you look at them going against the Kansas City Chiefs, they're Hurts is going to be under a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And when he's in with a lot of pressure, I mean, you got Sanders in there and you got him. He's going to be doing split. He could do that essentially. The literal role of a sleeper almost in a game where when Sanders is not on, Gainwell goes in, he has a potential to make really big plays when they're focusing their defensive efforts on other players.
It was crazy to see that he outrushed Sanders.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, it's...
Well, they only had 3 rushes.
True.
Or 5 rushes.
But that's kind of what I mean, is that, like, it's guys like that that'll make the play, the long plays that end up outrushing or whatever, Sanders and all that. But guys like that will make the big play because they're just not considered the top threat level on the field at the time. Yeah. So that is what I find that where Kenneth Gainwell really does kind of come out, and he's projected to get 6 points. I mean, he gets a score and he's got the double digit. He's kind of gone over his projected. So I think he's a good opportunity for flex, and could be a good option for everybody. So
I like it.
Let's talk some money.
Oh yeah, here we go.
Oh, baby. Small risk, big reward.
Let's go. We're going to
do some rapid
first
fire.
First, thank you to all of you who have listened throughout the podcast. We really do appreciate the support, and hopefully you're learning things and also going to be able to make some money with us this week. Last week we were 12-4 against the money line, so I think today I'm just going to stick to a nice quick hit on money line specifically. Let me know if these have changed.
We're doing well.
Let me know if these have changed at all, boys. So first game of the week, we have Jacksonville at Cincinnati. They look like they changed a little bit, but I think the safe money line is just take Cincinnati at home at the 1.5.
It's actually dipped quite a bit there, Dave.
It did.
You made these bets this morning, and we're now looking at a 1.28.
It changed again? Oh, hold on. I'm not on.
You're not on stadium bets, possibly?
I am on regular money line.
This game should be the Sunday night game with Carrie singing.
Stop. Nobody even wants to watch this
Not
game.
true. All right, we're doing this on the fly. Okay.
Yep. Get her
Go
done.
for it.
We've got. I'll have to redo my big bet at the end, but that'll be simple too. All right, we're still gonna take Cincinnati at the 1.27. Simple, easy. Probably take the spread as well, and maybe stick with an under. Okay, Carolina at Dallas. Dallas is favored. I think it's the smart play is to pick them at home. However, I do think that if you're risking for a biscuit, I think that Carolina money line is not a terrible option to take. All right, Detroit and Chicago. Chicago favored by 1.68. I am putting money on the Detroit Lions, Drake. I'm doing that.
Really?
I'm going to do that.
This is nice to see. Some
money line.
camaraderie.
2.24. They looked good against the Ravens. They looked good against San Francisco. They didn't look good against Green Bay. But Chicago hasn't looked phenomenal. I don't think that they warrant the 3-point spread here either. I think you take the Lions money line, or a safer bet, take the spread. I think that you can probably safely take the over here as well. I think that the points are a little bit too low. I think it'll be a higher scoring game than people think.
Wow.
Yeah, that could be good. Dave, you skipped over the Cleveland and Minnesota game.
No, I missed that one.
So
You're right.
I will say that, but I do agree with you with everything you just said.
Perfect.
Drake's just gleeful.
Yeah, Cleveland at Minnesota. I'm taking the Vikings.
Oh,
Taking the Vikings money line. The money pays well. They're at home. This is essentially saying that the Browns are a 5-point favorite in a neutral spot. I just don't see that. I just don't see it. I don't know what you boys think on that one. Thoughts?
No, I'd go with Minnesota. I think the money's right there. Kirk's been on fire. Is this the game that Kirk could fumble and do poorly? Possibly. Cleveland's a good team. But until he shows us otherwise, like you said, I'm on board.
Perfect. All right. Next up, now that we've done Detroit and we've done Chicago, we'll do Houston at Buffalo. This is the one you guys say that they have Houston as a better opportunity than New England, which if the spread's telling us that, you're both dumb.
Yeah, this is like a real bad one.
Yeah, this is
real bad.
You're making 6 cents to the dollar when you bet Buffalo here, okay? So I think you take that regardless. I don't think you can take the money line for Houston. It's just too much to risk. I think that 15.5 points may be a little bit too much. If you like the idea of Houston, I think you take the spread, but I also wouldn't do that. I would take the over as well. I think that Buffalo is going to just put up points, and they don't care if Houston scores on them either. So
I can't believe that
I do kind of like the over and the visitors' points. I don't think they're going to lose by 16 points. I mean, they very well could.
I just can't believe that when we did this the first time, they were favored. Like, it was 13.75.
Like, that's just too much.
Like, if you have an extra $10, like, why not? Like, just put it on.
Give it a shot.
Anything can happen in the NFL.
Yep.
I mean, it's 8 to 8.25. Hey, why not? I mean, like,
still a lot of money.
Make a couple few dollars.
What do you got for the Colts game, Dave?
Few.
Yeah.
For Colts, we have. Oh, I was trying to fix my bets there, so let me get there. Okay, Colts, you're just going to take Miami money line, and you're going to take the spread.
That's fair money.
And I'm going to take an over.
Yeah.
I don't think either defense is as good as they could be at this particular momento.
There's nothing fancy there. That's just a fair call.
And 1.73 is decent payout for Miami.
It is, yeah.
Kansas City at Philadelphia. Kansas City is the safe money on the money line. I think you take the spread, and I think you take the over. This is going to be a revenge game. Not even against the Eagles, just Mahomes just going to show that he's worth his $500 million.
He's just going to say, I will not be getting 4 interceptions, and we will be hucking bombs. So, yeah. Fair.
Giants are being hosted by New Orleans.
New Orleans.
I mean, what do you guys think I'm going to say on this one?
New Orleans.
Yeah, it's pretty easy.
You called Winston. I know you're calling New Orleans.
I think you take New Orleans.
That's true.
You take the spread, and you take. I think this one honestly is going to be an under.
Ooh.
Under 43.
This one's an under 43. That's what what I've written down here. So I gotta believe my gut.
A super unappealing game to watch, essentially.
Yeah.
Well, nobody really wants to watch the
Next
Giants.
one's quick. It's Tennessee. That's it.
Tennessee across
Jets,
the board.
Until the Jets have outscored 51-6 in their last 2 games.
Yeah.
It's Tennessee money line. It's Tennessee spread, and it's an over.
Yeah.
Washington at Atlanta. I think that Washington is getting a really, really good payout for this. I think that they're a much better team than Atlanta. I think that you put money on the money line for Washington. I think you put money on the spread for Washington. I think you put money on the over as well.
Yeah. Like a 1.5 win spread. And like, again, good money on that. Yeah, it's a no-brainer.
I wouldn't put money on the over. I'd choose the over because the under could hit too. I don't know. It's a weird one.
Maybe stick away from that one.
Yeah. Now, next game. Probably one of the best games of the week. Arizona at the Rams. I'm picking Arizona. Arizona money line, which means you're taking the spread, and I'm taking the over as well.
I'm not taking any of it.
I'm not.
Hate it?
Leave me. Get out. Get out.
I'm not touching this with a 50-foot pole.
No,
I don't think.
I'll go with the over.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Maybe.
The over. That'd be
Maybe.
it. That'd be the only thing that appeals to me.
Yeah. I will say this. I will agree with you on this. The fact that the
money for
Arizona isn't bad. Like, to bet on that, like, if you do that on like your own, like a one-off bet, because we can do that in Canada now. It's not a bad bet to make because there's obviously a chance.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's kind of crazy because if you look at that, they have a chance. What, 3.45? I think is that still what it is now?
No, 2.89.
2.89 now. Okay, yeah. Because then I looked up at another one. Like,
disregard the notes. I was doing regular spreads, not the stadium bets, because I hit the wrong button.
It's all good, but even in the end, you look at Atlanta's like 2.05, and there was also like New York had a decent one. So I was like, the fact that they're paying out that much, man, like, why not?
Next game, another 5:00 game. This is
great game.
A great game, rivalry. Seattle at San Francisco. I love Seattle as a team. I can't bet them though. Not after losing to the Vikings. You take the money line for San Fran. You take the spread for San Fran, and you take the over.
This is one I disagree. I take Seattle on the money line.
Yeah.
Yeah. Russell Wilson revenge tour
At San Fran.
Yeah, get after it.
Yeah, I agree with Luke.
Chris Carson runs angry. Dave's quote.
I prefer it, but I don't think it's going to happen.
I agree with Luke.
All right, this one hurts my heart. This one is Baltimore on the road at Mile High. This is as close to a pick 'em as it gets.
I was gonna say that's a pick 'em.
I don't like that the Ravens have that close of an odds. I do think that Denver is the better choice, but I'm going to choose the Ravens, of course.
Just for your heart.
A little bit better payout. Lamar Jackson can be the deciding factor of any game, no matter who he plays. They've done well in Mile High.
Pardon me? Justin Tucker.
And Justin Tucker can kick the ball 78 yards at Mile High.
Thanks for watching, folks. We'll see
Drake's
you next.
never coming back.
Oh.
So
I'm
obviously,
in control of this.
if you're taking the money line for Baltimore, that means you're taking the spread, and I think you would choose an under here. I think it's going to be a sloppy victory, something like the Lions and Ravens last week, something like similar.
Broncos D is solid. They've proven
They're
that.
solid. So the Ravens D, even though they're a little bit injured.
Yep.
3 more left. We've got Pittsburgh at Green Bay. It's Green Bay at home against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh doesn't look
At all.
like, I'm happy. Like, I'm a Ravens fan. I hate the Steelers as an individual and as a fan. They're doing way worse than I expected them. Everyone always rules out the Steelers, but this year I think I'm actually ruling out the Steelers. Until Big Ben hangs up his skates and says, I'm actually done, I'm busted.
God, we're Canadian.
They're not good, man.
Hangs up his skates.
And they've had injuries at receivers too, so just not a team you want to bet on.
I will say this: I like the spread. I think Pittsburgh can stay within 6.5. In terms of, I go with an under. I'm gonna take the under. Sloppy game.
Yeah.
Green Bay.
Yep.
Sunday Night Football. You're taking New England. I'm just kidding. Don't do that.
Sunday
It's Tampa
night.
Bay money line. It's Tampa Bay spread, and it's an over. It's Tom Brady back.
No
at
questions.
Back at home, going to show everyone what they're missing there, and
Is it
he's
some
gonna-
of the classic over, as in Tampa Bay is going to score 50 points?
They'll put up 35.
You're gonna-
Good to fair chance,
you know what I
man.
mean?
Like,
Like,
yeah,
it's
they'll
just,
probably put up 35. New England will put up 17 or so. Yeah. All right, last game of the week for the spreads. We're looking at this is the game of the week, unfortunately. I hate both these. Well, I hate both these teams. I hate the Raiders.
No.
Raiders on the road.
Rams cards.
What?
Game of the week.
Yeah, that is right.
Yeah.
This is a big game though.
This is also good, yes.
This is Raiders
Two undefeated
at
teams again.
the Chargers. Chargers are favored quite more than they should be, I think, to be honest. But I am going to take the Chargers money line. Unless you're feeling risky, this would be one that I would definitely say, if you want to risk it, put $10 on the Raiders. It's a good payout for what it is, and they do look way better than they should be playing in terms of football. I would probably put Raiders spread, and I would probably pick an over. Again, Raiders are playing football. Choose the over. That's just my thoughts.
Yeah. Herbert's look good. Over's a pretty fair one there. Spread is a little iffy. I mean, the proper money goes to the Chargers. Yeah. Fair.
You ready for me to lay it small on the line?
Lay it, Dave.
All right. There's a 4-bet parlay. We are taking the Minnesota Vikings money line. Pays out $2.16. We're taking the Detroit Lions money line. That was hard to say out loud. 2.24 payout. We are taking the Washington football team to go on the road and beat Atlanta money line at a 1.81. And we're going to take the Niners at home. 1.65 payout. That one does sketch me out a little bit. I might change it for something else, but I like it for now. You bet $100, you're making $14.45.
Nice.
I think that's a
And
pretty.
those are very fair calls. We're not laying it small on the line there. It doesn't feel like everything is out there. That's not an out of bounds call. That's some fair money.
Bet confirmed.
Bet confirmed. Look at you guys making him spend money.
Thanks for sitting through that with me, guys.
Oh, you straight up made the bet.
He just did it right on the spot.
Well, folks, we're going to find out how.
You may be looking at some of Dave's tiers
Yeah.
next week.
Joke's on me. I hope I make that one because I obviously already placed my bet from before and I was totally doing regular money lines, not paying attention. So I'm going to lose those 3 points in between those games for sure.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm praying for you, buddy.
Thanks, buddy.
That's going to be made. Dave may be here next week. He may not.
It may just be me because Drake will be frustrated and Dave will be very upset. But again, everybody out there, thank you very much for tuning in. We always appreciate it. Don't forget to answer our question of the week on social media. We're going to be dropping that out there for you. It's all about Josh Gordon this week and all that drama. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. We're going to be doing all of our content, YouTube, all the audio platforms, Small Gaming, Hollow Hunters, Pokemon Pulls, and of course the podcast. Thank you again for tuning in. We are signing out.
Bye-bye.
Later.